Today, let's go talk about mental health. But let's go not talk about mental health from point of view as experts. There are too many experts who understand what anxiety it is, how mental health should be looked after, how you can cure yourself. But let's go talk with somebody who lived through this. He's a good friend of mine who come today from Melbourne to talk to me in this secret location. His name is Tim Beanland. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast Live the Battlefield. And today we're going to talk about mental health from point of view being somebody who experiences this on daily basis. Tim, welcome to the secret location.
I am enjoying the secret location.
It's
a great location. Thank you.
Let's go make it straight away, give the credit to yourself. The reason, it's very simple. When I started podcasting, I started with you. You're the godfather of my podcasting, which means that the moment I start talking to the mic, you guide me how to do it, what equipment to buy, and everything else. And today, you can see it, Tim.
Yeah.
It's thanks to you, my friend.
This is
so I'm very
beautiful.
grateful. You like it?
I love it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm better than you now.
I'll go back to Melbourne. I want to build one.
Look, let's go start from the end. You're smiling now.
Correct.
Guide us now for the past 12 months of your life. The very one moment I lost touch with you. Not me, but hundreds of people. And I didn't know what to make because I didn't have nobody to ask, where is my friend Tim? You're a kind and genuine soul, very, very generous man, helping other people. But yet, you disappeared for 12 months. Can you guide us? What's happened before disappearance and what actually happened?
Yeah, so I guess to start with, I do have a diagnosis of bipolar 2 or manic depression that it's often of your generation would call it.
Of course.
Bipolar 2 is different to what society thinks bipolar is, which is you're up and down every single day, up and down, up and down, up and down. Bipolar 2 is categorized by a lengthy period of depression and then an ability to go a little bit higher. I've only struggled with the high side of it once or twice because that's very easy to treat. It's more that sustained depression that is often, for my case, brought on by a life event or a stress or something that happens that then triggers it. This time around for me, so you've got the biochemistry side of things being the bipolar 2, and then my dad passed away on the 30th of May.
Last year,
2022,
yeah.
Which is a hard time for anyone, regardless of mental health. In hindsight, I didn't do the things necessary to grieve. I didn't do the things necessary. I tried to just get straight back into work. I used the fallacy of, my dad, the night before he died, he was actually working on an engineering project.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
For some reason, he just
nobody could stop him.
Yeah, no one could stop him. Exactly. And I used that as my crutch to be like, well, if Dad was working, you know, he would want me to work hard. But that was to my detriment in hindsight.
Yes.
Now, typically a person there's no typical grieving process, but there was grieving and then there was the impact through the mental health. Mm-hmm. Then what happened was, because I didn't have the systems in place to properly grieve, that trigger forced me to retreat. Yeah. And then I was running a successful business at the time. I had about 18 jobs on the go, different clients. And because all of a sudden the other thing I did as well, and I'm happy to publicly admit this too, I believe at the time I wasn't being consistent with my medication. It is very important that if you have mental health and you've been given medication to take, you need to take it. so many people have an aversion to it, but it's like a cold. If I have a cold, I take cold tablets.
Yes.
If I have a headache, I take Panadol. If I have bipolar 2 and I'm being given medication for that, I take my medication.
So you skip them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least you're honest, you know what I mean? You send this here.
It wasn't defiance. It was sometimes it was forgetting. Sometimes it was the grief. So you combine the grief, you combine the stopping of medication, then the business stopped because I retreated, and that caused a lot of emotional pain because for me relationships matter. I'd made commitments to these people. That was a real big cloud. And that was what sustained the depression. Because I retreated from my business, I lost friendships at the time. I'd not lost them, but I'll give you us, for example. You know, I felt like, which is ridiculous, you'll call me ridiculous. I felt like I couldn't call you because my business was failing and like, what am I going to talk about? I had similar friends like that. John James, we talk every single day. Check in, what are you going to do? Again, I felt like I couldn't call him, which I now know is absolutely ridiculous. You know, you would have strongly appreciated a phone call from me, even if I couldn't speak. And so there was that, the relationships, and then finances. So obviously, as a business owner, having built, like, it was getting successful. I'd hired employees, I hired staff, like under your direction. Remember, you wrote on the bit of paper.
Blame me, you know, like it's just like.
But that was great.
Yes,
that was fantastic. But then it all just came crumbling down, and it's kind of like if you fill up a bucket, right? Like this water. You fill up a bucket, and there's no holes for it to go. Eventually, the bucket's just going to fall over. And those 4 pillars of my father passing, so a big stress event, the medication, the business falling over, and then obviously because the business is falling over, my finances are not in a good state. So those 4 things are just attacking me every single day, and rather than biting it one step at a time, which is how I got out of it, your brain just goes, I'm retreating. And I think it's your body protecting you in a way because there's so much going on. But
you know what? First of all, I want to say it takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of courage. First of all, to travel from Melbourne. Secondly, to sit in that chair there. That makes you the man. That makes you the human who comes clean and say it's difficult. Look, many people lost their parents. Some people grieve different way. You lost your father who was working night before on a project, right? And saying to all of us that your medications has been put on the side because sometimes you forgot, sometimes you just, didn't want it. That takes courage to admit him. Secondly, you admitted that your relationships with the outside world crumbled. Can I ask you, what was your day consisted? Because you wake up in the morning and, your father passed away. We all can understand this, that, you need to be at a funeral, you need to help your family. But then you sunk. You disappeared in the abyss of darkness. Something swallowed you, right? And now there's a lot of bullshit artists there talking about mental health. I want to hear from you. Did you felt anything changing in you and you are slowly drifting away from the shores of the humanity, of society, in some unknown direction because of your bipolar 2?
Nothing changed until I was ready to receive help and take the help. What a depression day looks like for me, or what the last 12 months looked like for me.
Yeah, share with us because let's go.
This is the day
recognize this.
So I would have stayed up really late the night before watching YouTube, something distracting, just YouTube,
Irrelevant
TikTok.
things. Yeah.
Like I'm distracting my thoughts. So I'm also awake at that time because I know that no one will potentially contact me. So I can extend the day in a sense by, like, I don't want to go to sleep because I know when I'm going to wake up, the day's going to repeat itself. So usually you're awake quite late. Then because of that, when you open your eyes, it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. For me, the first thing that I would do is I would get up, I would close the bathroom door, the ensuite door, because there's light coming in. I would pull the blinds down to, again, darkness, all the blinds in the thing, and then I would shut the door. And darkness is depression's friend.
Really?
Yeah, you don't want to see the day.
Darkness is depression friend. I never heard this.
And you know what's interesting is my psychiatrist, Martin, the thing that helped in the end was ironically going for a walk and getting sunlight. So if I'm depressed and the first action that I take is to get rid of sunlight and then just go back to bed and stay in bed for as long as you can. Until,
so may I ask you, what are you doing in your bed? Like, I mean, like, do you just sleeping you don't?
For me, it was just doom scrolling through TikTok. It was doom scrolling, like, so, and there's a positive to that, right?
Okay.
Because, so this is also the thing with mental health is I try and see the positive spin to the condition that I have. The positive to me spending the last 12 months on TikTok means that I've spent 12 months studying a platform at the moment that's getting a lot of attention. I've studied what videos get attention at a high level. So I've spent 12 months effectively studying this platform because of the depressed state that I'm in. I know, you know how I said I'll write some hooks for you. I'm still working on them.
Yes.
Right? I'm still working on them.
You do? Yeah, I know that you do.
But that's come from just doing this all day. And that's sad that I have to do that. It really is. But sometimes people talk about mental health and they go, oh, I can't do that because of my bipolar 2. For me, I define it in a very different way. So the depression gives me a level of knowledge, insight, learning, lessons into myself that a lot of people don't get access to. Yeah. I've grown at a really, really strong rate. I'm only 29 years of age, but the lessons that I've learnt because of the depression have really put me in a good spot. The mania gives me a level of drive, energy, passion, creativity, motivation, influence over people. You spoke to our friend, and we're always on the spectrum. So I'm always going to have elements of my personality that is somewhat manic, and I'm always going to have elements of my personality that is depression. That's just what bipolar 2 is. But if I can learn how to harness the positivity or the positive of my mental illness, it's not a mental illness, it's a mental advantage. You've got a mental advantage. My bipolar 2 gives me a level of learning, lessons, insights into myself that a lot of people don't get. And then the mania gives me creativity, drive, passion, energy, influence. Why I love marketing so much and why I'm good at it is that's part of it. So I try to, and this is me talking to myself right now. If you're in the pits of it, you've got a mental illness.
Yes.
But there's some pretty strong advantages to what you have.
See, this is the crunching point. Everybody loves to hear the cry me a river story. My life is bad. Mom and dad didn't love me. I have nothing to eat. Blah blah blah. Who cares? You know what I mean? Because we all have in life some type of obstacles. Even those who are born into money, they have the obstacles. But what I like about you, Tim, that you today teaching us about mental health, but not in a negative way that people perceiving people with mental obstacles, like how we call them mental disadvantages, do we see them as pull them? But you now redefine mental health, that they are the advantages. as long as you know how to harvest. So yeah, please.
Let's take ADHD, for example.
Yes.
I'm going to go get tested for ADHD because, again, I've seen a lot of stuff. But if you've got ADHD, what that means is you can hyper-focus on certain things. And also your ability to be distracted means that if you're actually focused and interested on something, it's probably worth you following and worth you chasing. How many people can say that my brain lets me choose what I'm passionate about? How many people are stuck and they're stuck and they don't know what their passions are? Now, yes, there are negatives, as in like someone with ADHD might start a hobby there and start another hobby there. But that's where then the psychology comes into it. Now, I'm not an expert to speak on ADHD, but I'm just trying to explain that's a positive, that hyper-focus.
In contrary, I think you're an expert to talk about mental health. It's as the people who are try to help us to cure the, or help us to control that mental health disadvantages, type of the condition, ADHD, even autism and, bipolar. They're the doctors and academics, right? They're the people who are on receiving end. Those are people like yourself who are living the life, they try to adjust themselves to the standards and normal way of living. Maybe we are not normal, maybe we who are claiming we're normal, maybe that's our life is not normal,
There's no such thing as normal.
That's correct,
really
but it's a labeling comes on a place, And have you been labeled?
Oh, yeah, of course. You get a diagnosis of bipolar.
Not by doctors, by the society.
Oh, society.
Did anybody come to you say you are some derogative names?
No, I've never had that. Just because, again, it comes back to seeing the advantage of it, seeing those advantages of, So my business failed because of my depression.
So business failed.
Business failed, right? What's the positive of that? Well, the positive of that is I can now look at, why did that happen? What can I do to improve that?
Yeah.
What can I do this time around with the help of yourself, Martin, Simon, whoever, to actually build a solid foundation so that when we come back, this stuff doesn't happen. And if it does happen, we've got backstops. The business failed because there were no backstops. You were trying to get me to do it ages ago, but sometimes you need to learn the lesson the hard way. Sometimes you need to learn the lesson, and this time around. So if I tell you that the positive of depression gives me lessons into myself and my life, what were the two things that I got from this time around?
Please share with us.
The two things that I got from the latest depression episode were hope. And
hope, okay.
Yep, and help. So hope. I had a phone call with a very good friend of mine, Victor Tavisian. And Victor finally got on a hold of me because what happened was there was an intervention. My family, they intervened. It was like, we understand mental health, but it's been 12 months. Time to do some stuff.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Started with Lisa, started with my wife. Oh, I'd say wife now, that's nice.
Hello, Lisa. Hello, wifey. So Victor called you.
So Lisa started it.
Yeah.
She then got family involved, Emma. Emma got Martin involved. Martin sent me a big, long text message basically saying that, some of the behaviour that I'm displaying isn't, it's not right. Just isn't. And then because of that message that Martin sent, Victor had been calling me. And I finally picked up, and Victor asked me, because at this stage, I'd had enough time to grieve Dad. I'd done it. The stuff that was keeping me down was the business, the business relationships and everything. And I told Victor what had happened, and he said, Tim, you know what? I've just listened to what you've told me. It's not great, but it's also not the end of the world. And he told me his story about how his business had failed because of a schizophrenia episode. And he's like, I've done what you've just told me. I've done it 10 times worse, and I've gotten out of it. And I'm willing to also help you get out of it as well, make those emails, make those hard calls. And Victor gave me hope that if I did the action needed to get well again, that things will be okay. Because he didn't downplay it, but he said, Tim, this is really easy. Like sometimes if you're so deep in the woods, you don't see it. You can finally have someone understand your situation, laugh in a sense and go, I've done it 10 times worse.
Yeah.
You can get out of it. And that gave me hope. And what then happened was I did the little steps to recover. So there was a non-negotiable of 8 a.m., get out, walk, sunshine, come back.
But didn't you say that darkness is a depression best friend?
Yeah.
So,
So if I go for a walk in the morning, depression is not going to like that and it's going to go away.
So my question would be around this, who supported you firstly? Because I don't have experience with somebody who is has a mental, any type of the condition. But I can judge something because my son, as you know, he had epilepsy for 12 years.
Yep.
And I know he's been labeled by society, right, from the schools and everything else.
Your son and I probably take the same medication. Do you mind?
Keppra, take it all.
valproate.
You know what I mean? Like he was like on a handful of 32 pills per day, right? It was heavy stuff.
It's
you know
needed.
what I mean? In the morning to be hyper, you know what I mean, and during the night to sleep. It was breaking my heart, and that takes the toll. The metabolism slows so much, that some chemical imbalances creating, gaining the weight, you know what I mean, and moods are changing. I was breaking my heart. So I always ask myself, who are the people around him? And somehow he managed to choose the people who are really his friends, you know what I mean, who are there for him, even today. They're great boys and girls, you know what I mean? They're very successful in universities, on the good parts and everything else, but they stuck with him. They didn't label him. They were with him, supporting him, knowing that he is going to come out of this. And he did, as yourself. But my question is, was there any surprises who was there for you? And there were surprises, people who told you it's going to be for you there, and they were not there for you? Because you named a few names only so far, which is good, but I'm very curious. Was there people you expected going to be for you there, but they were just...
There were some people that I didn't expect would be there, and they were there.
That's a good one.
So I... Look, I'm very fortunate. I've got an incredible network of people, and during the Depression, there were a number of people that came over to my house. Tremaine Murphy was one of them. Simon Bowden came over twice. I want to state this publicly, actually. It's very fun. I haven't told Simon about this, but this will be a funny moment for the podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be.
So
Simon, you are recorded forever.
So Lisa loves drinking whiskey.
Okay.
Lisa loves whiskey. So she'll have if she has a hard night, she'll have a whiskey. And then whiskey glasses will be out during the day. Yeah. And when Simon came over, God bless him, he went back and he talked to Sean Tucker. Yeah. And he was like, Sean, you need to help Tim. I think he's drinking. Yeah.
He's drinking.
I hate whiskey.
They're labeling an alcoholic, and I was like,
So that's again. I haven't actually had the conversation.
I'm hoping doctors doesn't see this.
No. So Simon directly, no, it wasn't me. There was Lisa drinking the alcohol. And anyway, so look. Tremaine came over, Simon came over, Sean Tucker came over, Wendy Dawson came over. I had friends calling me. I had people messaging Lisa.
How did you feel? How did you feel when you see these people, including myself? But it's not about me; it's about you. This podcast is about mental health, about a person who drifted away so far from the shore into darkness of the night. And night was lasting for 12 months. I mean, how did you feel when you get all these messages, from the people asking you how you are? Did you want to say
there's a range of emotions that come from it.
Please.
The first one is just pure gratitude for the fact that you'd message.
Yeah.
The thing that's so frustrating is when I'm depressed, I lose my ability to communicate. I use the analogy of the Space Jam movie, not the second one with LeBron James, the good one, the one with Michael Jordan. The good,
Long time ago,
the Michael Jordan one, where the NBA players touch a basketball and then all of a sudden their powers go away and they go to hospital to figure out why they can't shoot. And that's what depression is like for me, is my communication skills get taken away from me. So when someone messages me, it's seen, it actually gives me a bit of a kick up the butt. It's like, oh, okay, yep, okay, I know I'm in it. I need to get better so I can reply to this message. But in that moment, I physically can't reply to the message.
You can't
because I don't know what to say. I mean, sure, I can say I'm not feeling well.
But then you know that people are going to ask more questions.
Exactly, there's physically a block there, but the thing is I never want someone to listen to that and then not message, because those messages are always seen and they're always a motivating factor to get better again.
Can I add something on the top of this? It's like a defense in a court, right? For those who don't know, Tim lives in the Melbourne state of Victoria. For those who don't know, I was born and live in communism for a good portion of my life. And I never saw brutality against people's freedoms like I saw in Victoria, which certainly make it for your depression and bipolar condition to escalate even further, because you guys been like in super maximum prison 23 hours per day for 2.5 years. I mean, that's not normal. You know what I mean? There's no psychologist, psychiatrist who can tell me that's a normal, right? And that's like, I live in communism, so we have some freedoms, you know what I mean? But nobody will put us into, you know what I mean, into our homes, welding us and all these things, as was happening in Victoria. So I say this from my point of view, it's not easy to be living in that city with that mental conditions. And not only one, obviously, it was a lot of people. So that's what happened in Victoria. Was being locked down for 2.5 years, and then things go from bad to worse. So where was the first time you went to see some professional? Was it that family intervention?
This time around?
This time.
So I consistently have a team of, I've got a psychiatrist and I've got a psychologist. Now, I retreat from them as well, right? Which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, of course. Look.
However, so those two things, hope and help.
We spoke about hope.
We spoke about help. Now let's talk about help.
Yes.
So as soon as I had that call with Victor, that gave me hope that if I do the activity and lean into help, the things will be better. So the first thing is daily walks and phone calls with Martin, my uncle.
Yeah.
My uncle. And Martin and I work very closely on life, business, health, and one step at a time. William Branham, who you and I both know, the Navy SEAL, he told me about a time he was climbing out of the Grand Canyon, and it was just this really steep thing, and all he did was he put his head down and he just did one step at a time. Yeah. He's not focusing on what's ahead, his head's down, he's just doing one step at a time. And he told me that because I reached out to him as well. I said, William, I need some Navy SEAL secrets. I'm recovering, right? Yeah. And we've been catching up on a weekly basis. But Martin really stepped in for me, and along with my wife as well, because I was updating her. But Martin had the capacity to talk to me at 10 a.m. and 9 a.m. and whatever.
How good is that? He's your uncle, right?
Yes.
No judgment. The guy doesn't look on a clock what time it is. It was 24/7 available for you. And that's a pure love, my friend. That's a pure love.
Yeah.
People like this, we just need one person like this in our life who's going to be there for us,
So
and it's
then,
going to pull us here.
so then I was doing the little stuff, building the little stuff back up again. And then it was, then I went over to Sean Tucker's place. I spent two days at Sean's, just as a change of environment and also get a little bit of health back, a little bit of.
I mean, Sean is a freak, you know. For sure, he told you to do like 150 push-ups per day and like 300 sit-ups.
No,
on the
he was
side.
good. He was good.
Don't tell me it's wrong. I know Sean Tucker.
He took me to a fried chicken place.
Okay, we're gonna talk about this later off the record.
Yeah.
So Sean Tucker is a good man. He understands the health.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I saw something what was very alarming. He created a couple videos about mental health. And then I realized, obviously, he's in touch with you because it made me almost cry.
Yeah.
So you with Sean Tucker, yeah?
Did you see? And what I did with Sean was I got back into filming. I mean, I've got my camera here today. I've got yours.
And we're going to talk about this later. So.
Yeah. And I filmed. I filmed some content for him. So. Not only I filmed just what you and I have done before, off to the side, 3 months of content, 45 minutes. I got back into the business, right? And then he also had an event that he was speaking at that he wanted me to film. So that then got me back. 2 events. He had that, and then there was a retreat that he was running. So that then got me back into earning money again.
Okay.
So now I've got purpose. Now I'm contributing back to the
health,
back to work.
Back to work. So
Simon, because I really want to talk about Simon's help in this as well.
Yeah.
So Martin and Simon came together from the business front. Because if we remember, if my health went away, the business went away, the relationships because of the business went away, and then finances, well, 3 out of 4 of those are related to business. So clearly I need to get my business running again.
Yes.
How am I going to do that? Well, we need to be very careful. I can't just start posting on social media because there's 17 projects there that's sitting on the go. So what Simon and Martin helped me do was we devised a plan to get to my wedding. This was like 3 months out from the wedding. We weren't even sure if the wedding was going to go ahead because my mental health wasn't. I wasn't going to be there mentally. I'd be there physically, but not mentally. Yeah. And I can proudly say that I was there physically and mentally at the wedding because of the work that I put in, but also the help that I leaned into as well.
Yeah.
So Simon and Martin got together and they said, Tim, I want you to list out every single one of these projects that are on the thing, and then I want you to type what stage they're at. I want you to then rank them in terms of, we got colours. We got green, yellow and red. Green, they're supportive. I know they understand. It's going to be quite easy to reach out to them. Yellow, I'm unsure how they'll respond. Red, I know that they will be a pain in the ass. They're threatening.
What was your feeling? What was your feeling when you created that list? Because you need to now reflect 12 months of your absence. And certainly you felt, when you wrote that list, like, God, everyone's going to hate me or people going to... Well, how you felt when you need to address things for 12 months?
It was good because I had the help around me to understand, because I could look... Well, the first name I gave that list was people I owe work to or money to. And then Martin said, that is a terrible name for that list. That is a terrible name for that list. We have to name it something else.
So you call the list, I owe people money.
Exactly. And then Martin's like, no, this is like a knockdown fast list. Okay. And essentially, when I created it myself, there was a bit of anxiety. Of
course it is.
A bit of anxiety. However, I had the help around me. Martin was like, you're going to be okay. Victor was like, out of the whole world of people, it's only 17 people. It's not like it's 500, 1,000. It's 17. Bit of perspective. So the plan was to contact one person a day.
Okay.
But eventually what ended up happening was I contacted one green, one yellow, one red every single day.
So you go with your plan.
Yeah. Well, Simon...
So despite you being told to do one thing, it's like, I want to do Tim Beanland thing. Because once I did one, so I reached out to one of the green ones and they're like, oh,
I'm just so glad you're okay.
People are glad, yes.
One of them, I thought that, they'd be angry. They were like, no, we use the videos. They're fantastic. I was just calling you to pay the invoice. Like, that was the only reason I was trying to contact you. So here's me, like, struggling for money, and then here's someone who's really happy with the work and they just want to pay me. So one green, one yellow, one red. And the more that I did this, the more that I leant into the uncomfortable thing that I'd been avoiding, the better my health got as well. And you know what's amazing?
What?
Out of the 17 people, only one person was difficult.
Look, can I add something on this one?
Yeah.
Everybody is upset and angry instantly, right? I can't reach you. I was worrying about you. I was literally genuinely worrying because I know that you had some things before. But I was angry as well because you don't want to answer, you don't want to reply to me. So that was for me. It's like, why he doesn't want to reply to me? Like, just.
And I hope you understand that it's not
No,
personal.
I do, but it's like,
not
see,
personal.
from 17 people, one person is a dick. Okay, good to him or her, whatever it is, whoever it is. Because as I come back to my son, it's easy to judge people. There is so many cheap seats in life. In front row, everyone's gonna point a finger at you. But one thing, majority of people forgetting, there is no business plan. There is no contingency plan. You see, everybody's been taught how to reach the stars, but nobody teach other people how to stay among the stars. What's happened when you fell down on earth? Happened to all of us. You're not the only one. You're not alone, Tim. So whoever was rude to you, I'm hoping that you fix that person, whatever you done. I wish you the best.
Just see you later.
See you later.
Yeah,
whatever.
see you later.
I'll do whatever you ask me.
And it's just amazing that out of 17 people, just one person.
Yeah. Because when I saw it the first time, I thought to myself, this was like March this year, I think March, April, what I was.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see you. I was happy to see the man who is young, has a struggles, and it's difficult to perceive what you're going through. But I said to you, it takes the courage, it takes the big balls. I'm telling you this right now. People on LinkedIn posting daily how great and how amazing they are. And it's the biggest BS, man. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. You can't produce every day some miracle and the greatest work. Because maybe I don't have the bipolar, but I know, Tim, people around me suffering in silence. And then what's happened? Either they end up in a morgue because they're commit suicide, because I witnessed a few of them lately, was laughing till yesterday with me, and then in the morning I find out done something.
Wow.
Or the people end up in psychiatry ward. So what you did today, it deserves the big thesis to be elaborated. You know what I mean? Coming from the dead amongst the live, admitting the guilt, but simultaneously you're dealing with your demons, which is your bipolar 2.
I think something I would love to share is just how did I a really quick formula for how I went from depression to sitting here in Sydney, having the means to fly to Sydney, right? From having no money to now business back on track, doing really well.
Can you share that point with us? Because you see, this is very important. I want people to understand. Sooner or later, we're gonna hit rock bottom.
It was rock bottom.
We don't need to have the bipolar to hit the rock bottom. It's going to be bad decision making, business decision making. It's going to be family issues. It's going to be mental issues. It's going to be, the unicorns and midgets are flying, on different directions.
Yeah. So,
yes.
First of all, it was understanding that there is help available. You are supported.
Can I ask you a question?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
So let's go do this way. If I ask you a question, and it's okay to be emotional, I'm telling you, I give you full right. I think even William Brown's going to say to this one, if somebody says that man or the person is not allowed to cry because of emotions, is the biggest bullshit artist. And I say this with the full right. I've been in a couple wars, so I know that I cried. You know what I mean? I was crying. Is it okay if you feel any sign of depression to ask for help?
It has to be.
Okay.
It's there's so much out there that's saying it's like, are you okay, Jay? Or this and that. But
Blah 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 blah. Yes.
But it's good for it's good for the sentiment of the fact that, for me personally, recovering from mental health requires help from friends, family,
Yes.
psychologists, psychiatrists, professionals.
Yes.
Your network, you need to have help. Mental health isn't something that you just try and figure out on your own. If you broke your arm, you wouldn't try and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So why is it any different to mental health? So for me, this time it was understanding that there was support, there was love.
It's okay to ask for help. You see,
People cared. People really, really cared, and I strongly apologize for not reaching out and accepting that help earlier. But if you feel yourself slipping, just find one person that you can talk to. Just one person. It could be your brother, it could be your best friend, it could be your psychologist, it could be your boss. Anyone, someone, everybody has at least one person that they can talk to. Now, this should be the person, if you're feeling yourself slipping into mental health, that you tell them what's going on. And you share that without any judgment.
you know what? You have the. You know, I said to you, you
Yeah.
have the courage today. Because as I said, like it's easy to go to a psychologist, right? And sit there and doing all this. My mom didn't love me. My dad, my life was bad. Wife
Well,
left me.
never compare what you're going through to someone else's thing.
That's
Like,
correct. See, that's an emphasis I want to make. You going through something. We are not in your head. We are not in your head. We are not in nobody's head.
But what I went through isn't any different to someone struggling with anxiety or any different than someone struggling with something else. It's not like I have some sort of special medal because I'd spent 12 months depressed. Like, yeah, that was hard, but someone who spends 2 months depressed still goes through a really
You know
tough
what I'm
time.
afraid of?
Yeah.
The one day I'm going to wake up in the morning and walk into the store and on a shelf there is no more Nutella. That's going to be...
Look,
I try to break this one.
I share the sentiment.
Yeah.
But this is the other thing as well is a lot of people will be resistant to going and seeing a psychologist because they reckon, no, I don't have a mental illness. But psychologists help with a range of things. The first time I went to see a psychologist,
Yes.
it was the second year of university.
Yeah.
The only reason I knew about the university psychological services was because I was a peer mentor, and I was mentoring the first years. And as part of the training, they were like, if you notice this, and this, mention that the services are there. Well, I started noticing the things in myself. I went to the entry gates of the health services.
Yeah.
I stood there. I knew something was wrong, but I turned around and I walked away. I got halfway down the hall and I turned back. And I got to the entrance again. And again, I turned away. But on the third time, I went in. I got the help.
Yeah.
And from there, the psychologist gives you a plan. It gives you a direction. So even I was resistant to help, so I understand why people are resistant to it. But if you don't go and get the help, it doesn't matter what you have, you'll never reach a level that you need to get to.
Can I just say something? So I just looking now statistics, and he says latest one. This is 20 to 21. He says 1 in 10 people in Australia experience depression symptoms, which is increased to 7.5% of people aged 16 to 85 experience an affective condition in the last 12 months, which is equivalent to 1.5 million people in Australia. 1.5 million people in Australia goes through the same thing you go through. So there's no family which is not affected. There's no friends who is not affected. Spouse, partners, just to stand there.
Degrees of separation.
Degrees of separation. So we learned a lesson through you now, how to reach for the help and, and look after the health. but equivalently, you step it out and you try to recover your business. So, can you suggest and translate, that what you did because due to your mental breakdown, your depression, why is it important to people, or what steps they need to do in order to prevent business collapsing in the future? Not just because of depression. What have you done to prevent in the future to help this here?
So this was pillar number one of why did the breakdown happen, and then how do we prevent it? The first thing that I've done, I've identify your strengths in your business and identify what you are bad at. And what you're bad at is probably the reason the business will fail. So if you're bad at sales, right, your business is going to fail because you can't bring sales through the door. If you're bad at operations and delivery, your business is going to fail because you're great at sales, you're bringing things in but not delivering. So for me, where my weakness is delivery. I love sales. Telemarketing was my first job when I was 18. I booked an appointment on the second call that led to a sale. I'll be writing a book soon with my mentor about sales. So sales I love, and I know you do too. But for me, it's the operations and the delivery.
Yeah.
The good news is, what I've done now is I've created training videos so that I now have a high standard of what I want to deliver, and I can send those training videos to other editors. Doesn't matter where they are around the world. You can get some amazing talent from Philippines, from India, from Nigeria, right?
Let's go to Nigeria side first.
But around the globe, there are some incredible people. So for me, I now have created the training videos, and when I deliver my service, the bottleneck for me has always been speed of delivery. So if I have 10 editors underneath me, then I can go, deliver the service, I film the content, film 3 months of content in 45 minutes for somebody, sit down with them, talk about their business, and then as soon as that stuff's done, I put the file, I upload the file into a Dropbox, and then I send that Dropbox link to one of the best editors that I know, and then I pay them decently, because if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Yes.
Right. So pay them decently, get the job done in a week, and turn it around. That's what I focused on. So what I did was Sean. I did a bit of work with Sean, but my first proper job back, I called a client of mine, Steve Eberger. He's up here in Sydney. I called Steve because Steve sent me a question about microphones. Yeah. So I called Steve up and I said, Steve. Hey Steve, I'm back. I'm healthy again. Thanks for your messages. By the way, did you get that microphone? He's like, yeah, I got that sorted out. And he said, Tim, this is really uncanny. I was going to send you an email because I want more videos done. Yeah. What are you doing next week? Fly up to Sydney and let's do some filming. So then, now I got one job again. So no 17 jobs on my plate. I've got one job that I can focus on and do the best of my ability, but also test out my new system. Okay. So I go to Steve. I say, Steve, we were going to do 30 videos, but we found these. I'm going to do all of them. And the reason I wanted to give him all of them was because I wanted to try all of the editors out. So don't worry, Steve, don't pay for the additional. I'm just going to give them to you. Yeah. And then I interviewed 8, and then I trialed 3. One of them was good but slow. It was slow. One of them was their work wasn't as good, but they were quick. So that's cool. Yeah. And then one was fantastic, but he was really slow.
So there's a 3D mixture. Okay, if you can combine it together.
But for me, it's about letting go. Like you on a bit of paper, I remember it. You drew a line in the sand. You said, Tim's operation. So this is what Tim does, and then delivery of product. And you told me it's no one's business how you get the thing done. Yes, they just care that you got the job done. And as soon as I go, hang on, I can spend the time making a training video that's high standard, so I can then send to anyone around the world that's an editor. So to distill it. Yeah. I understood the weakness of my business was delivery, which you told me 18 months ago. And you're probably angry at me because I'm only now learning the lesson. But that's what I've done. So for me, if something... and the other thing that I've done is I've networked with other videographers. Because I'm not a videographer.
Yeah.
I'm a marketer who pretends to be a videographer. I do marketing and I just hold a camera. Right? So
well, most of us are doing the camera, trying to do the marketing,
Yeah.
but it's like it's a much more harder. But
Yeah.
Tim, can I ask you, you gone from darkness into the light, and you brought with you all this abundant experience of negativity, of the darkness and depression and bipolar, and you done perfectly translation from disadvantages to be your advantages. And you said it's okay to ask for the help and assistance. You as well had the courage, what the most of people don't have, because of technology. We have using SMS to tell somebody, I love you, don't love you, I won't be with you, I don't want to do business with you. But you directly call the people, right? So that's a courage, right? That's a number one. But I want to ask you a very, very hard question. Can you share with our audience, from your point of view, from your experience of depression, if somebody start experiencing any symptoms of depression, what they are and what would you tell them to do? Don't tell me, ask them, are you okay? Because
No.
So like, you told me that the darkness is a depression best friend.
Yep.
That you wake up in the morning and you'll be in the darkness and just scrolling something on the internet, something just to entertain you, avoiding the communication with other people. So this is what I'm picking up of the depression, and a non-ability to communicate with the people. That's what you said. So like,
see, depression becomes comfortable. Becomes comfortable.
Okay.
It's a routine, and you're stuck in it. But also, there's comfort in the, I'm just going to watch TikTok, or I'm just going to
Yeah.
right. So there's comfort in it, and it's a routine. So the thing that I would tell someone that they're noticing that is start noticing. If you start to notice that you're withdrawing, that you're losing motivation, that you're really not good, what is the one thing that you can do to break the routine of depression? Because for me, use the equation of darkness is depression's best friend. So for me, the little thing that I can change, the easiest thing I can do, and it sounds ridiculous when you're in it, because it's like, how can such a small change actually help me? You don't believe it. You're like, if I go for a walk, it changes nothing. Like, it doesn't change that I am not working. It doesn't change that I'm hating this life that I'm in. Like, but it's amazing how much one simple change to the routine of depression, find out what that is. Now, for me, it was walking. For someone else, it could be playing their piano again. Someone else, it could be finally baking again. I don't know what it is for you. For me, it would be going for a walk. For you, I noticed your Instagram stories. If I stop seeing you sharing walking on the beach, if I stop seeing you sharing, you'll be on a plane, once every 3 months. If I stop seeing that, I'm going to start messaging you and I'm going to ask you if you're okay. For me, I think one of the things people can pick up on quite early is if I haven't posted anything on social media in a month, 2 months, at that point, that's where you should message me. That's really good to have on camera. Like, if I haven't posted on social media for a month, 2 months, unless I've told you I'm out somewhere and no reception, right? But if I haven't posted on social media in 1 to 2 months, that's probably where you message me, and then that's where I could break the routine, because depression is a routine.
Depression is a routine. That's what you said. That's what you said. But Tim,
that's what I'd tell them to do. I'd say break the routine, and find a way, whatever it is for you. What's that one small, simple thing that you can do? Because you're not gonna tackle the mountain of depression in one day, but you are going to do one step at a time to tackle it.
Yeah.
What's that first step that you can take? For me, it's walking. What's the one step? That's the advice that I would give someone.
Now, when
I really like that.
you're on a different path, I'd like to say thank you everybody who was there for Tim. Tim is my good friend, very good friend actually. One of the few people I can say he's there for me when I needed a friend, helping me with my podcast to lift my podcast, so create my brand. And then he disappeared. Happens to all of us. And what we can learn from this interview for generations to come, particularly now in a DNA age when we are on a social media, as Tim says, if you see somebody's missing in action for some foreseeable time, try to find that person. Try to understand why this person doesn't post anymore, why it doesn't appearing in the media. And sometimes easy steps, as Tim says, are good enough. For him was fighting darkness with a walk on a daylight. But Tim, medications, how important medications for you are?
Very important.
Okay.
I have very strong opinions on it.
Yeah.
I get asked a lot by people.
Yeah.
They say, should I start taking medication? Should I not?
Well, if you just can't medicate yourself, you need to go to the doctor.
Exactly, right, exactly.
Give me something,
If you have been diagnosed
Yeah.
and a medical professional who have spent minimum 8 years
Yes.
studying and
Yeah,
they
that's
know
right,
what they're
yeah.
talking about and they give you a medication that
Yeah.
will help you, you should probably take that medication.
That's correct, yeah.
I'll use the same analogy. If you have a headache, you take a Panadol. If you have a cold and flu, you take cold and flu medicine.
Yeah.
If you've got a biochemical imbalance in your brain and there's medication that can help that, well, taking that medication is strongly, strongly important. And being consistent with it as well. You can't just go, okay, I'm happy now, I'm good, I'm going to stop taking it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's where that's where I got into trouble.
Ah, okay.
That's actually where I got into trouble. I was
I feel good,
I feel good, I don't need to take it anymore. I feel good, I don't need to take it anymore. That is the stupidest thing you can possibly do, because the reason you're feeling good is you're taking the medication and you're doing all the other things right for you as well. So another thing about medication is it's not your be-all and end-all. It's not your savior. It's just the thing that's going to kick you into gear so you can do the other stuff that'll get you healthy again. Medication alone cannot treat your depression.
Yeah.
Because I was taking my medication regularly for 12 months, and it wasn't until I started doing the action that then I got better. Your medication will help you, but it's not the thing that's going to help you completely. It's the supplement.
So I want to ask you, when we are fighting depression or any other mental disorders, how important is that physical exercise and healthy eating? Obviously you don't drink the alcohol as some people claim.
As we just going, Simon.
We just got the glasses on the table, so Tim is alcoholic. But it's not.
This is not vodka.
That's just the water. So in hindsight, you're taking medications, you're doing the proper steps.
I was doing nothing. I wasn't exercising at all.
Yeah. And now, how
And-
important is this now for you? Or is any type of exercises?
My psychiatrist tells me
Yes.
that if he could bottle up exercise and prescribe exercise to me as a prescription, then he would. He would
Really?
do that. Yep. That
My
is
God, that's a good
that
one
is that is how important exercise is to mental health.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be smashing yourself at the gym.
Yeah.
As I've said, go and smash yourself at the gym. That's fine. But for some people that works. But for me, it was literally just walking. We got a dog. A dog helped me get out of depression, because you got to walk a dog. You can't just not walk your dog. It's not on. So my psychiatrist, again, it tells me if he could prescribe exercise to me, they would. Exercise is the thing that helps your medication perform even better.
Okay.
So it's fundamentally important. If I stop walking, and stop. And eating as well, right?
Yeah.
So like when I was depressed, I had that much McDonald's and Nutella, and
That was your food.
not all the time,
Yeah, but
but
you will take that space in your life. Yeah,
like you're having McDonald's at least once a week. You know, I remember one depressive episode. I just was like, I'm craving a Big Mac, and you just crave bad food. You know, quick food, bad food, and that all perpetuates the thing. So, exercise and healthy eating are going to be critically important for you to maintain. Even if you don't have a mental health condition, you know we know these things. So for me, it's like I said to William Branham, I said, because of the wedding and the honeymoon, and like I got out of my routine a little bit, and I was like, I'm starting to feel like I'm feeling off. And he's like, of course you would. Yeah. And it's just about now getting back on the horse and doing it. So I guess, to wrap that up and answer your question, exercise and healthy eating is fundamental.
Now, for the end of this interview, okay, let's go ask a different question, totally irrelevant of the, I love doing these things, of the balance. It's not about pineapple on a pizza, it is about podcasting. Why is podcasting important for the business people or businesses or corporations? Tell us this as somebody who loves the marketing. You're the marketing guy with the camera in the hand.
You know, I'm going to give you an answer that might be a bit left field, because a lot of people would say the content that you can produce off it. A lot of people would say the influence that you can create. For me, why podcasting is important is the relationships that you can build because you have a podcast. If you have a podcast, you have an excuse to pretty much reach out to anyone you want to in the world and ask them to come onto your show and talk about their expert topic. You then sit there as the podcast host asking questions to this expert or this unbelievable person. So you're sitting there getting a masterclass for an hour, but it's the relationships that you gain because of that. And then because of those relationships, opportunities come to you. My podcast, for example, it's called The Expert's Blueprint. I talk to an expert every single week on their expert topic. If I'm talking to experts every single week, well, there's a pretty high likelihood that there'd be challenges, problems, things that I can help them solve. So why should you have a podcast? You should have a podcast because you enjoy the conversation.
Yes.
First of all. First and foremost, right?
You love conversation. That's a good one.
If you enjoy this element of talking, and for me, I started my podcast because I kept walking away from conversations with mentors. I had about 50 coffees with people where I'd be making notes and stuff. This is when I was 17, 18. But I'd walk away from these conversations going, why the hell didn't I record that? And eventually as you know, you buy one bit of gear and another bit of gear. And I think the podcast itself gives you an ability to have conversations that you wouldn't have had otherwise, gives you the time, what we've done today, for example. I've given you a really deep understanding of mental health and what happened. And
this is the best conversation I think is going to stay for generations because, as I say, you don't come across, sorry to interrupt you there.
No.
I want to just share something with the viewers and listeners. The conversation today with the team is not about how he feels sorry and he's seeking your condolences, your approval to be sad, upset. What the team today displays a courage to show and display how he combated his depression, bipolar 2, and how he can come from darkness to the light. Metaphorically speaking, of course. And for that, I'm saluting you. And, talking about podcast is very important because, after all, I'm very grateful, Tim. And I was going to say this one. I started podcasting seriously with you. But for me, it was much more easy, guys. I was just sitting behind the screen. Tim will do everything, Tim will do everything. Just like, and that's a different podcasting. One more question before we wind up this interview. How you can help the people with their podcasting, video, marketing, social media, make them influencers?
Yeah. So my business is designed for people who are the best kept secrets in the world and no longer want to be the best kept secrets in the world.
This.
I help my clients produce 3 months of video content in 45 minutes of their time. How I do that is structure a conversation that is planned to hit the pain points, desires of their target customer, and then put into the news feed so their customers actually want to listen to it. We go away, we do the hard stuff, the branding, the editing, the subtitles, the stuff you don't want to be doing. And then we create...
Nobody wants to do this,
no
Tim.
one,
Everyone loves the end product there.
They just want the end product.
Yeah.
And then create it in a way that stands out in the newsfeed, and you've got a catalogue of content. I work with my clients either on a monthly basis or a one-off basis. Typically, at the moment, it's been the coaches, the keynote speakers, the finance professionals, buyers agents, property agents, real estate, mortgage brokers. I enjoy the finance people because they have so much knowledge in their head, but for whatever reason, when you stick a camera in front of their face, they freeze up and they go...
So can you help
"I
the
don't know
people
what I'm
to
talking about."
overcome that fear?
Yeah,
because,
of course. Yep.
you know, we talk about mental health, but we're forgetting, like I can say this one, I had a fear, guys, being in front of camera for the several thousand reasons. But one very important reason was that I was afraid that people will not understand what I'm saying. People don't understand what I want to say.
Do you remember what I told you for that?
No, but I don't. Just want to say, tell me.
So a lot of people with strong accents, you're not alone. A lot of people with strong accents won't create content because they think people won't understand them. However, what I said to you, Mario, is your Croatian accent.
Yes.
It's actually the type of accent that people will stand up and listen to because there's just this innate thing of that area of the world where it's strong.
Yeah.
So
People think I'm Russian. That's what it is. Everybody thinks,
Yeah.
you're Russian. Say, oh, говорит по-русски, друзья.
yeah. But you can speak Russian. I know.
That's correct, yes, yeah.
Yeah. But it's actually a real strength. So there's that. There's that first of all. So people will listen to it more because it's interesting and it's different.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just another Australian making Australian videos on Australian platform, right?
Yeah, I like it.
But
Yeah.
you're an Australian Croatian making videos on the platform, and you'll stand out because of that. And people will go, oh. The second thing is, and especially with the development of TikTok, we've got subtitles, but we've also got dynamic subtitles now. Dynamic subtitles meaning adding colors, adding emojis, moving things around. You do it on your videos, it's okay.
I'm just using very simple thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
I saw this. I didn't know how to call these things.
Yeah.
I saw highlights on the shorts.
Yep.
Dynamic. Okay, now I know.
It's dynamic subtitles. So not only do you have the strength of your accent, which is fine, but it doesn't matter about your accent because we've got the subtitles there to. If I mishear a word, well, I'm just going to read it. And if
correct, because you helped me that one as well.
Yeah. Now I won't lie to you. It does make your editor's job a little bit harder.
Of course, it does.
But that means that they earn their money, right? so
I like it. This one. Look, I can say I'm thankful to the life that I met you, and I will always come back from that angle to defend you, whatever your action do. Not because of experiences my son had with his challenges, but as a human, because it's like life is full of cheap seats. And everyone loves to be in the front row telling everybody what to do, how to do, what they're expecting, but they will not do this on their own and for their own benefit. So it's easy to judge somebody, but I will judge you on something right now. The courage you display, it's bigger than I met anybody, honestly. I always come back to that point when I said to my son, congratulating him after 12 hours of the brain surgery. You know what I mean? But he's becoming he's Mr. Know everything now. You know what I mean? He's 21 years old, studying medicine. You know, I know everything. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk to you. So, you know, relationship a little bit strained now. So it's like, but with you, I want people look at you as a high. And I want people understand that what you say today, it's not a charity night award about mental health, that the hotline's working only once, and you today share how people can come out of the darkness and be back, in a world where they belong. So thank you, Tim, today for being my guest. You want to say something for the end, or
Yeah, I mean, I'll just.
you can't. Okay, that's not just joking. Of
Oh,
course.
okay. Look, thank you, Murray. First of all,
thank
the absolute pleasure to be here and in the studio.
Thank you,
Absolute
Tim.
honour. Thank you. I will say, if anyone's heard anything that has resonated with them, you can send me a message, Tim Beanland on Instagram, Tim Beanland everywhere else. What I will probably do if you do tell me about your mental health situation, I'll recommend you go talk to a GP.
Yeah.
However, I'm there to talk if you need.
So
advice.
people can find you as your name and surname, Tim Beanland.
Tim Beanland, yep.
On all social media. I'm gonna put a
Yep.
comment section below, guys. All Tim socials
Yep.
to contact him.
And I've recently finished my website now. I finally have a website.
Oh,
So
what was the name of the website?
Yep.
Is it Tim Beanland or
no,
something?
it's beanfilming.com.au.
Bean filming.
Filming.
Oh, that's cool, eh? Guys, beamfilming.com, right?
.com.au.
.com.au. I'm going to put in comment section below. Feel free, contact him, give him support. If you have any questions as well, your mental health, podcasting, recording, how to do dynamic shots, feel free to contact Tim. Tim, thank you very much for being my guest today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.